Welcome to Everything CPA and Private Equity, where we unpack the evolving relationship between accounting firms, private equity, and other strategics. I'm David Wolfskehl, a partner at Whitman Transition Advisors.
And I'm Phil Whitman, CEO of Whitman Transition Advisors. And we've chatted with more than 150 private equity groups. We've actually closed over 40 transactions with those private equity groups. And we're bringing you firsthand insights from the front lines.
And whether you're exploring your first deal, putting your toe in the water, refining your strategy, we're here to guide you with real stories, expert advice, actionable takeaways. Let's dive in. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Everything CPA and Private Equity. We want to be a resource for leaders of CPA firms to understand what's going on, to get insights from both private equity firms, managing partners, some of whom have done deals, some of whom have decided not to do deals, and as well as what we're doing at the WTA team, where we've already closed over 30 PE deals with firms, and so give you some inside information as well. Today, with my co-host and partner, Phil Whitman, we decided to really focus on, not the big guys, right? This all started with the Eisners, the Citrons, the Cherry Beckards, perhaps. But one of the things that Phil said and has worked very hard to make happen is this should be for everybody. And so today we're really going to focus not on the top 100, we're going to focus on the thousands and thousands of firms out there that are in that $1 to $5 million range. And Phil, if you're a $3 million firm that's profitable, and again, we talked last week about EBITDA and you need to be profitable. But if you have a $3 million firm that's profitable, are they attractive in today's world? And welcome, Phil.
Thanks, David. Absolutely. $3 million profitable firm. As I've said time and again, there's never been a better time to be a CPA or CPA firm. And that it doesn't matter whether you're a $1 million sole owner with a niche specialty or a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 million. And I believe most these CPA firm managing partners of these firms that are sub 5 million typically don't think of themselves as being worthy of even having a discussion with private equity or, why would one of these strategic investors be interested in me? But before we continue, David, I know you always like to start with a leadership quote. So I actually have one. I don't remember who said it, but it definitely does resonate with me because one of the things I used to say before I met you was, I'm the managing partner's secret weapon. I help, managing partners increase net income. And one of the things I realized,
income per partner.
That income per partner was very important. But I didn't want to be the managing partner's secret weapon. I wanted everyone to know me. So today's quote is, if you're flying under the radar, and by the way, many firms fly under the radar. They don't participate in surveys. The AICPA says there's 44,500 firms out there. And we know there's more than double that amount. We have more than that in our database of CPA firms across the United States. So either they're not members of the AICPA, but if you're flying under the radar, you'll never launch into orbit. And that really resonates with me because, again, I used to think it was great being the managing partner's secret weapon. But when I got together with my partner, David, and we have grown Whitman Transition Advisors into the single largest advisory firm for CPA firms in the nation, I realized being a secret weapon and flying under the radar is not a good thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. Me and Marcy went to a restaurant that's a secret, the unknown restaurant. Took us 30 years to finally go there, and it's 5 minutes from my house. So I agree with you. You want the world to know what makes you great. So Phil, I think if we went backwards 5 years ago and I had a $3 million firm, it'd be very easy for me to give a value on that firm. It would be darn close to $3 million, right? And, maybe there would be some slight adjustment for a niche or profitability, but for the most part, the only number that mattered was that revenue number, and almost always it was a one-time revenue. So if I'm running a 3 million, a 1 million, a $5 million firm, has the value of my firm increased?
Well, absolutely. David, I think the best way to get this across to our listeners is by sharing a story. And while yes, if it was a firm that had, their act in order, that $3 million firm would 3 years ago be valued at approximately 1 times gross revenue, worth 3 million. But let me tell you the story. David and I, when we were presenting at the Connecticut Society of CPA Firms, David coined the term orphan firms, and that was back in 2016 or 17. And one of the things that we thought was there were going to be firms for which there was no buyer. Okay.
50 cents on the dollar buyer.
That's great. And you must know my story, because I was working with a $6 million firm that had a 67-year-old managing partner and 4 partners that were all about 64 years old. And the best deal we were able to get before the strategic investors came into the room was, I'll give them 60 cents on the dollar, a collections-based deal. Well, lo and behold, enter strategic investors, private equity, family offices. This firm ended up with a total enterprise value of $9 million. $9 million. So not, 60 cents on the dollar, not I don't have the people to take over the clients, but someone that saw this says, wow, they've got great clients there in one of the greatest cities in our country, New York City, and we can find people to bring in and help them. And one of the things that I can tell you, most firms that are 5 million and less, the biggest challenge they have, 2 things. Number one, no succession. I cannot tell you how many have said, Phil, find me a unicorn, find me a 43-year-old who wants to take over my practice. And
when I ask you that, do we, how much effort do we put in? Because they're called unicorns for a reason. So.
Yeah, and I usually smile and I say, let's take a multi-pronged approach. We'll try and find you that unicorn, but you definitely should take some meetings. So number one, it's, lack of succession plan, but also the challenge in recruiting talent. I mean, working with a sole owner of a practice in New York City, he's doing 2 million. He's probably gone through 5 people in the last 2 years. He's getting the scraps and the crumbs, because he doesn't have an exciting story to tell. Well, you know what? He actually has now received multiple offers from private equity, and he's going to have a much better story to tell, and he will be able to attract that talent, and he no longer needs to worry about succession. Again, never been a better time to be a CPA firm. Instead of getting like, all right, we're going to give you 80%, 80 cents on the dollar because you don't have bench strength, you don't have future partners in your ranks. So instead of 2 million, we're going to value you at, 1.5 or 1.6 million. This guy has been receiving offers now based upon EBITDA. And I know what everyone is saying is what, David? CPA firms don't have EBITDA. They distribute everything out. Well, we create EBITDA, so, but he's actually ending up with a multiple of 5 times EBITDA. Now, he happens to drop almost 50% to the bottom line. So do the math. If he does 2 million, drops $1 million at a multiple of 5, his $2 million firm is being valued at 5 million. Now, there are different components of that. Don't latch in on a multiple of 5 if you're a $2 million firm, because there's so much that goes into that.
Yep. And so when we look at valuations, so that firm's going to receive more than a 1. Let's talk a little bit about geography. Well, actually, before we talk a little bit about geography, a lot of the smaller firms, the $1 to $5 million, are super profitable. And if you are super profitable and you're not having some conversations, let's talk, and you should be having some conversations, because I think the numbers you were thinking about when you were sitting on the beach and thinking about retirement, those numbers have gotten much better, and that retirement looks much different if you're a profitable firm.
And David, you're so right. And when we first started out, maybe for a small firm, we were looking at multiples, 4.5. If they had niche specialties, maybe getting to a 5.5 or in rare instances, a 6. But with everything that's going on now, we're 3 years into this. I mean, those multiples, what was, a 4 or 4.5 is now a 5. And even, as we get to firms that are 5 million in revenue, I mean, we actually ended up doing a transaction with a firm that when we added everything up, cash at closing, promissory note, earn-out provisions, and some other sweeteners, the multiple this firm got was actually a 7.5, which was really, really rich for a firm.
And not totally common, right? This firm had some special things, but
Correct.
multiples are going up, valuations are going up. And then just real briefly, as we wrap this up, geography used to play a much more important role. So why don't you share, and, again, $1 to $5 million firms, oftentimes they are in suburban or rural locations, right? So why don't you share a little bit about how the world sees geography today versus 3 years ago?
World is flat. The world has no borders. Doesn't really matter where you are. Now, obviously, if you're in New York City or Los Angeles, let's call it an NFL city, you're probably going to get a higher multiple. But we're working with a $3 million firm in Idaho. We're working with firms in Utah. We're working with firms in Kansas City. We're working at firms in remote areas of North Carolina and West Virginia. I mean, nobody really cares. What they care about is, do they have great people? Do they have great clients? What is their mindset? Are they looking to be part of growing something? Now, obviously, we know there are firms where, hey, I'm done. I want 2 or 3 years and out, and they'll look at those as well. But I will tell you, geography does not matter one bit.
So if you're a leader of a $1 to $5 million firm, we're happy to talk to you. We're happy to share. We're happy to look at your firm and give you insights about what's possible. But one thing I am sure, if we look at what's possible today versus 3 years ago, and you're running a really profitable, well-run firm, the possibilities are much greater today than they ever have been.
And David, just going back to that quote I gave you, give us a call and we will take you from being under the radar to outer space.
So, well, thank you, Phil. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe, like us. It helps us get the message out. If you have any questions, we have a whole team here to support CPA firm leaders, whether you want to do mergers or you're looking for profit or offshoring. We have a full platform to help support you. So for Phil and I just want to say thank you. Go crush the day. And as Phil says, and now I'm going to say it too, there has never been a better time to be a leader of a CPA firm. Go crush the day, everybody.
Thanks, David. Thank you for tuning into Everything CPA and Private Equity. Every episode brings fresh insight. However, there's always more to talk about.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe wherever you watch podcasts. Have a question or topic you'd like us to cover? We'd love for you to reach out to us.
Together, we will help you navigate this dynamic landscape so that we can help you achieve your goals. Until next time, keep making moves that matter.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.